Cinema used to mean something. It wasn't just flashy effects or billion-dollar franchises fighting for box office scraps. No, it was an experience, a pact between the storyteller and the audience, that for 2 hours you could step out of your world and feel something real. But somewhere along the way, that promise broke. Movies became louder, emptier, safer, the magic faded, and then, out of nowhere, an anime picked up the pieces and reminded us what cinema could be. Because Demon Slayer Infinity Castle didn't just release a movie, it revived an art form. The same medium Hollywood used to dominate just got outplayed by the very thing it once dismissed as cartoons. Demon Slayer Infinity Castle isn't just another anime movie, it's a phenomenon, a brutal, R-rated, emotional odyssey that drags you through the blood-soaked trenches of a war between demons and the humans brave enough to fight them. It's packed with jaw-dropping animation, character arcs that actually mean something, and emotional moments that hit way more than a Himejima boulder toss. But here's where it gets crazy. This so-called cartoon didn't just impress fans, it dominated the global box office. In its first weekend alone, Infinity Castle pulled in around 70 million, and it's now sitting comfortably as the 5th highest grossing film of the entire year, earning roughly 655 million, and it's still climbing. And get this, all that with a production budget of only 20 million. That's pocket change compared to the hundreds of millions Marvel and DC burned through. Yet somehow this smaller Japanese animation studio just outperformed two of the biggest cinematic empires on earth. If we're being real, Hollywood isn't dying because people are tired of superheroes. It's dying because it forgot how to feel. Most modern blockbusters aren't built to move you, they're built to trend. Every frame, every joke, every scene is engineered to pass the algorithm test. Safe, familiar, and impossible to hate, but also impossible to love. They've got everything, massive budgets, oceans of CGI, a checklist of nostalgia bait, but they're missing the one thing cinema was built on. So, look at movies like The Flash, Quantumania, or Tron Ares. On the surface, they've got it all. Sleek visuals, big names, shiny effects, but beneath all that spectacle, nothing. No heartbeat, no human pulse. You don't feel what the characters are feeling, you just watch them go through the motions. And that right there is where Hollywood lost the plot. On the other hand, Demon Slayer changed the model entirely. Instead of following the traditional anime route of stretching arcs across a season of weekly episodes, Infinity Castle turns its final chapters into a full-fledged cinematic trilogy. This approach does something revolutionary. It fixes the pacing. No more filler, no more cliffhangers waiting for the next season. Every frame is intentional, every moment serves the story. But this shift doesn't just help the audience, it helps the artist. Longer production cycles mean better animation quality, less burnout, and more room for creative innovation. Compare that to JJK, where animators have spoken out about rushing deadlines and mental exhaustion. On the other hand, Demon Slayer is proving that when you treat your team like artists, not machines, you get art that lasts. And when we're talking about art, there's something anime fundamentally changed: the form of animated movies themselves. For decades, Western animation was boxed into one idea: animation is for kids. Pixar, DreamWorks, Illumination, all masters of their craft, no doubt. But their target audience was almost always the same: families. Stories had to be light, colorful, easy to digest, and maybe with a wink or two for the adults in the room. That's exactly where the box office gold was: merchandise, Happy Meals, theme park rides. Animation wasn't seen as a medium for storytelling, it was a category for children's entertainment, or at least that's how most adults saw it and still do. But then came 2025, a year where both Pixar and DreamWorks released films, and yet the biggest animated movie of the year didn't come from Hollywood, it came from Japan. It obliterated the records. It became one of the highest grossing animated films of all time, earning over 655 million worldwide, a number few Hollywood studios could even dream of reaching in today's theatrical climate. Think about that, a bloody, emotional, deeply human story about trauma, demons, and sacrifice outperformed every family-friendly juggernaut Hollywood could throw at it. The very definition of animation, of what audiences expect from it, is transforming. And here's the wild part: half the industry hasn't even realized it yet. Because what's happening right now isn't just a new wave of anime hype, it's a global awakening. Animation is no longer a niche, it's no longer a stepping stone to real cinema. It is cinema, storytelling at its most unfiltered, emotional, and visually expressive. For nearly a century, most Western studios have treated animation like a toy box, colorful, safe, and carefully contained, but that wasn't always a natural choice, it was engineered. Back in the 1930s, the Hays Code, Hollywood's infamous moral rulebook, didn't just restrict live-action films, it quietly redefined animation too. The code banned mature themes, violence, and anything that could be considered controversial, and with that, an entire generation was trained to believe that animation was only for kids. Disney leaned into it, and Warner Brothers followed suit. But the message was clear: animation wasn't seen as a medium for emotional or philosophical storytelling. It was treated as simple entertainment meant to keep kids occupied. Studios followed the money, chasing the guaranteed box office of family audiences instead of creative freedom. Because let's be real, plush toys sell better than existential dread. And so for decades, the equation stayed the same. Animation equals children's entertainment. Sure, every once in a while, a movie like Watership Down tried to break free, and later, shows like The Clone Wars, Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, and now Invincible proved that animation could tell deep, emotional, and even brutal stories. But for most adults, especially those who grew up during an era when cartoons were strictly marketed towards kids, that idea never really changed. They still see animation as child's play, not realizing that today it can explore mature, complex themes just as powerfully as any live-action story, and sometimes even better. While Western studios were painting inside the lines, Japan was tearing the canvas apart. Shows like Attack on Titan didn't just push boundaries, they obliterated them. Political allegory, existential dread, human tragedy, all wrapped in a story about giant man-eating monsters. It forced audiences to confront fear, morality, and the nature of freedom in a medium most of the world still dismissed as cartoons for kids. And that influence didn't stay contained in Japan. In 2005, Avatar: The Last Airbender emerged, an American show but one built entirely from the DNA of Japanese storytelling. It blended anime's emotional honesty with Western pacing, creating something that shouldn't have worked, yet it did. Sure, it was technically a kids show, but it went far beyond the Saturday morning formula. It didn't rely on gore or shock value to be mature, instead it explored war, genocide, destiny, and forgiveness, all through nuanced character writing and genuine emotional growth. And the world noticed. 2 decades later, it's still one of the most acclaimed shows ever made, precisely because it treated its audience with intelligence and respect. That's the real lesson here. Animation doesn't need to be bloody or violent to be mature, it just needs to be honest, and that's where Demon Slayer Infinity Castle comes in. Because while Avatar proved animation could be emotionally profound, Demon Slayer is proving it to the world's face. Every time someone says, "I don't watch cartoons," they're missing out on shows like Attack on Titan, stories about human nature and moral collapse, or Avatar, stories about healing and redemption. And now, Infinity Castle is tearing down the last wall between animation and cinema. This isn't just anime fans hyping up their favorite show. This is audiences across the globe realizing that animation has no limits. Because Demon Slayer isn't succeeding in spite of being animated. It's succeeding because it is animated. Audiences don't just want bright colors and quirky mascots. They want mature, complex, emotionally raw storytelling. And they don't care if it's hand-drawn, CG, or live action. They care about art that makes them feel something real. And the studios that understand that, like Ufotable, MAPPA, Studio Ghibli, they're the ones redefining what animation means in the modern era. Ufotable's choreography and lighting push visual storytelling to its physical limit, and nowhere is that more obvious than in Demon Slayer's story of Tanjiro Kamado himself. It all started in the snow, this quiet, almost peaceful image of a kind-hearted boy trudging down a mountain, completely unaware that his life is about to collapse. And then, bam, he comes home to find his family gone, brutally slaughtered by demons, except for one, Nezuko, his little sister. And of course, because the universe apparently loves emotional damage, she turned into the very thing that took everything from him, a demon. Fast forward to Infinity Castle, and man, that's where everything comes full circle. You're not just watching fights anymore, you're watching emotional therapy sessions disguised as boss battles. Every clash is personal, every punch means something. These characters aren't just trying to survive, they're trying to make peace with themselves. And then we get to Akaza. Oh boy, Akaza isn't just some edgy villain with cool abs and tragic eyeliner. He's a walking heartbreak story wrapped in martial arts gloves. His backstory doesn't just tell us who he is, it hurts. We see the boy he used to be, the man he tried to become, the people he lost, and the monster he became because the world wouldn't let him heal. And Ufotable, being the absolute lunatics they are, doesn't rush a single second of it. They let you sit in it. It's the kind of emotion that hurts to watch, but you can't look away because it feels so real and powerful. And okay, hold on. We have to talk about the music for a second, because holy moly, Ufotable didn't need to go this hard. Like seriously, every single fight in Infinity Castle sounds like it's backed by an orchestra of gods who just got dumped and are taking it personally. The sound design here isn't just good, it's illegal levels of good. Every hit lands with this perfect mix of reverb and rhythm. Every emotional beat feels like it's scored by Beethoven on Red Bull. The music doesn't support the action, it amplifies it. Like the soundtrack itself is throwing punches alongside Tanjiro. And oh Oh gosh, Akaza's theme. You know exactly what I'm talking about. It makes you want to run through a wall and challenge a demon to a duel. It's the kind of music that makes you question your life choices. Like, why am I not training on a mountaintop right now? That's what makes Infinity Castle so special. It's not just flashy animation or big explosions, it's Ufotable flexing their ability to make you feel something even in the middle of total chaos. And that's the magic of Demon Slayer. It's proof that animation doesn't need to reinvent the wheel to hit hard, it just needs to spin it in with purpose. But hey, if you enjoyed this video, unleash your subscribing breathing, first form, click slash. And while you're at it, keep your blade swinging and check out this next video right here. It's pure Hashira level content.